I'm hoping to start a bit higher up this time. What's that weather?
Let's hope.
Rain!
Yes! Rain! 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 Rain!
Oh.
Yes! It will be raining to start!
Oh my days, never. It's changeable conditions. Oh my god.
Changeable conditions,
This
but
is
I
got-
will go
this
with the
is
dry
got
setup. I will go with this. Matti,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah,
what
this
I
just got
always
serious.
dreamed of. Racing in wet Australia.
Wow.
Yeah, dry setup, dry setup.
What's good, my people? It's the man Low Key. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. As you can tell by the title, today's video is the second race in my ERO season here in Australia. And as you could tell from the introduction, we're going to be having our first wet race of the season. And with that brings obviously many challenges. As you can see here, looking at the setup, looking at the suspension, whether to decide or trying to decide whether or not to alter the setup or to just go with a dry setup in the hope that the track dries up sooner rather than the whole race being held in the rain. So as you can see here, I personally went with a dry setup because I wasn't expecting the rain to stay for the whole race. So we'll see how that plays out come race time. But for now, looking at qualifying, if you watch my last race, or my last video rather, you'd have heard me at the end complaining about how much I dislike Australia. Coming into the weekend, I didn't get as much practice as I would have liked. I did some practice on the morning of the race, but I found myself a decent flow. But getting a bit close to qualifying, I started really struggling with the first corner. I know a lot of people will know that the first corner around Melbourne can bring a lot of problems because it's either you get it correct and the rest of your lap goes well, or you really don't, and then that's definitely the end of your lap. So coming into qualifying, I was a little bit wary of that turn one. It was kind of always in the back of my mind. So we'll move on to my first lap in the session.
I improve low keys into the lap, or is
Yeah,
he now?
and I just invalidated.
Yeah, he's still his home.
So my first attempt in qualifying was invalidated, and with 12 minutes left on the clock, keeping in mind that we're going to be starting the race in wet conditions, the pressure was really starting to mount, at least to get a lap on the board, because Australia in the dry is already hard enough to overtake. So in the wet, you really need to make sure that you get a good lap in qualifying so that you have that advantage of starting a little bit further forward. So at this point now, just coming into the pits, really having to get the car out and get a lap on the board in order to avoid any late drama in the session. So moving on now to what is my fastest lap here in qualifying. I will leave you guys and I'll be back at the end of the lap.
Is there a car behind some lap?
I think it is, yep. There's a Williams coming.
Good luck so far.
Decent banker. So it was a 119.4 for my fastest lap in qualifying, or what ended up being my fastest lap in qualifying. All in all, the lap was a little bit cautious, but that was just based on the fact that I didn't have a lap on the board and I couldn't really afford to invalidate once again with 7 minutes remaining, as that would leave it all down to the final lap in qualifying. So now moving on to the final lap, or my final attempt in qualifying with 30 seconds left on the clock. Some cars have already come across the line and have improved, so you can see I'm now down in P9. So really a lot is banking on this lap. Coming into turn 1, I take too much of the inside curb, end up going wide onto the AstroTurf, and that was my lap over before it even started.
Mind that front wing, it'll need replacing if it...
Yeah, but unlucky Loki. Never mind.
Yeah, Loki, unlucky.
Yeah, turn one was always going to be my downfall, but it's alright.
Yeah, Chem did the...
So qualifying in P10 in Australia, keeping in mind that we'll be having a wet start to the race, it definitely wasn't a good session for me. As you saw, I only actually got one lap. I only completed one lap. Fortunately, the lap was a 19.4 and nothing slower than that, so still allowing me to start from somewhere within the pack. Going into a wet race, a lot of things to consider. For example, the tyres that we'd be starting on, so if it will be intermediate tyres or full wet tyres. These things have massive implications on the strategy, and obviously how you do on the early laps, getting past cars really as quickly as possible, because overtaking in the wet is not easy whatsoever.
They make a mistake, you go past them.
It's inters.
Oh, it's intercondition.
It's inters, but I don't understand why it's inters. So you can hear me saying it's inters there. That's me referring to the tyre compound that the game has put us on. In wet conditions, there's two different compounds that you can use: the wet tyres or the full wet tyres, and intermediates. So intermediates is kind of like the crossover between being fully wet and there being standing water on the track, and like damp conditions, kind of transitioning towards drier track conditions. So you can see here lining up on the grid, everybody would be starting on the intermediate tyres, but it's still quite wet. And I was actually quite surprised that we were starting on the intermediates, because the weather forecast said that it was heavy rain to start with. So heavy rain, dry setup, intermediate tyres, it was bound to be a crazy race. So just starting a formation lap here.
Straight.
So,
is this intermediates? This looks like wet. So on the formation lap here, I realised pretty early that the conditions compared to the tyres were really treacherous. As you can see here, really going at no quick speed whatsoever. I literally just drive off the track. That's due to a lack of tyre temperature, as you can see there on the panel on the bottom right. A lack of tyre temperature, and obviously still feeling out the conditions. I feel like a lot of people did go with a dry setup. So early on, I was anticipating people struggling, including myself. But then hoping that the weather would transition to dry, as it said it would on the weather forecast prior to the race. So lining up for the grid here, an action-packed race to come. I'll leave you guys to see the start, and I'll be back very, very soon. Maxwell's lagging again. His car is lagging. Is he ghosting?
Red cross. So it's
There's a carnage behind.
good start. Good start, but that Maxwell.
Maxwell's lagging so much.
It's unpleasant.
maybe also that's one of the reasons why my stream was lagging.
Oh, yeah. My Loki, good battle, but you managed to stay on track.
Maxwell's car was scaring me too much.
Yeah, but he's ghosting, I think so. Don't worry about him.
Gillis will stay with Julian. don't care. Just
Yellow flags.
don't care about bread.
Yeah.
Someone crashed. So halfway through the opening lap, you can see everybody's really tiptoeing around the track, just trying not to make any errors. I'm not sure if you can see the bottom right of your screen, the little green panel that you can see. That's my throttle trace, so you can really see the difference between how much you apply on the throttle and the brake in the wet compared to the dry. But here on lap 1, you can see the Ferrari ahead is really starting to struggle, and I can sense he's struggling. I really need to get past him because I don't want to lose track of the leaders up ahead, as I felt like I had pretty good pace in the wets. So moving on to lap 3 now.
Vilzu, don't forget to update me on the conditions, how you feel.
Yep.
And so do Loki, please.
So here on lap 3, really I need to get past the Ferrari ahead, as I feel like I'm a lot quicker than him. So I go for the dive bomb up the inside, and we make slight contact, but still both staying on the track. He's still got the inside line though. I'm trying to find a way around the outside. He pushes me onto the curb. You can't really accelerate around there, and then it's so close going through turn 5. Any contact there would have put me in the barrier surely, but we managed to live another day. Very good defending there from Fofana. I have to give it to him. He defended that position very well. I thought I had the move done after turn 3, but that wasn't the case. But you can still see he's really struggling. He hasn't got any grip, and I'm really trying to force my way past with another car behind, watching very closely on that proceedings, just waiting for any type of mistake to capitalize. And again Fofana goes wide, so this time I look to go to the outside. ERS fully deployed, later on the brakes, but I lock the front right, go wide onto the grass, and that is a position lost. After that great battle I had there with the Ferrari on lap 3, I've ended up losing the position, and I'm now down in P11.
Oh yeah, I see. It's yellows, but he's still in the race.
I needed to get past there, fuck.
Yeah, just be patient, Loki.
Yeah.
The race is long.
So you heard there on lap 4, the reminder from my engineer, we're in for a long race. So I had to recalibrate, really reassess the strategy now after losing that position. So moving forward here on lap 8, you can see the car ahead is struggling. In between lap 4 and lap 8, I just thought I'd sit back a bit, try and manage the tyres as much as possible. But you can see now the Ferrari up ahead has managed to pull away. So now I need to get past Lucas, as he's struggling a lot on those tyres. How much longer do you think we'll be in these conditions for?
Maybe 7 laps.
Alright, hold on.
People are pitting for Inters, don't be distracted by them.
Because this rain is getting lighter, it will dry up very soon.
Nice overtake, Loki.
Oh, I got
Will do when you can.
So finally, I managed to get past Lucas here on lap 9.
Okay.
So at this point, really the main option is to catch up to Fofana and Tobias up ahead. Cars that I felt like I was quicker than in these conditions. Obviously, with overtaking being so difficult, strategy was really going to come into play now. And I'm not sure if you heard from my engineer, but a few cars actually chose to pit for new intermediates. I was of the mindset that the rain would start to stop within the next 7 or 8 laps. So at this point, I wasn't really considering a pit stop and wanted to stay out for as long as possible, maybe until dry conditions, so that I could make that pit stop from the inters directly onto the dries and avoid having to make that pit stop in between. Oh, understeer. Pitting for inters, no, actually no, there's no point.
No point.
But you'll be a lot quicker at this point.
Well, it's still only on 40%, so...
Yeah, mine's on 40 as well.
Continue, stay out.
Oh, fucking hell.
What happened?
I almost crashed. Oh. Yeah, the conditions are getting difficult. I can't communicate right now.
Okay.
Yeah, look up for fun, he's struggling as well.
Yeah, he is.
So moving on to lap 12 here, you can see now I'm about to get past Fofana finally as he's made an error, as well all of our tyres are really dying. But at the same time, you can see Julian, who was, I believe, the race leader at the time, has made a pit stop for brand new intermediate tyres. So he is a lot quicker than myself, Fofana, Tobias, and a few other cars that are up the road, as we are really on old inters, as you could hear me complaining about the tyres having almost spun out into the barrier. So now moving on to lap 14. This is really where the race is about to take on a different dynamic, because as you can see behind me, Julian and FRL Bread, those are the net race leaders, with my teammate also now coming out of the pits, having all stopped for new intermediate tyres, whereas the top three, myself, Tobias and Tam Tam, are all on old inters. So you can see here now Julian, who's the net race leaders, attempting to go around the outside.
Loki does push him off.
Loki holds the position now, which is good for you, Brad. Good job. He's got pressure.
Try to make up some pressure for them, because
Alright,
then I can
please,
gain some.
don't talk.
Sorry.
Please, my tyres are finished and these lot are all over me.
Okay.
Please, safety car, now. Oh, in the pits. Was that in the pits?
Yeah, in the pits.
Yeah.
I need this track to dry up. So I managed to keep the net race leader behind, and he actually lost the position to FRL Bread at this point. So really I was just pleading with I don't know anything, because really I needed the track to dry up as soon as possible to have any chance of fighting with the guys behind me for big points in this race. I was literally just holding out, waiting either for a safety car or, like I said, for the track to dry up so we can all transition onto the dry tyres at the same time, effectively having gained about 6 positions. I'll hold these guys up as long as possible, but my tyres are going.
Yeah.
It won't be long.
Because Villas is gaining so much, but if you feel low key that you can stay out, then stay out.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay out.
Oh, Julian!
Did he lose his wing?
Yeah.
Been overtaken by Vilzu now. Vilzu's... oh, okay.
Oh fuck, I know what's happening here.
What?
Well, Cheeves is in front of me. Vilzu's behind me.
Guys, is the rain getting lighter or not?
Slightly,
No.
but not really. It's been like this for a while. Come on, Vilzu.
I'm trying.
So as you heard there from FRL Bread's onboard, he's now realised that he's in a racing point sandwich, as it's myself and my teammate that are the 2 cars surrounding him. So at this point, my race strategy is kind of up in the air, really just waiting for something to happen. So my main goal here would be to keep Bread behind for as long as possible to give my teammate a good chance of attacking him. There's no way this guy's getting past me. Unless I make a mistake.
Yilmaz seems to be doing similar to you, champ, both on both the off-roading levels. Other than that, everyone's on pretty fresh tyres up until P8.
Sick one, Vilzu. Fucking sick one.
What happened?
Bread closed on me.
Oh my.
Didn't leave any space when I was trying to overtake him on the right. But I'm okay, I don't have no wing damage. I'm still back on the fight.
Oh, these tyres are
Julian
dead.
lost his wing. Julian lost a bit of his wing.
These tyres are finished. Oh my god. I need it to stop raining right now. So as you saw there through FRL Bread's onboard, he came under pressure from my teammate where they made a little bit of contact. And that's actually put my teammate out of position a little bit, as he was right behind the net leader, who is FRL Bread, in the net second place. He's currently 3 seconds, I think, behind Bread at this point. So for me now, it's become a bit more important to keep FRL Bread behind me, as if he does get past sooner rather than later, it will leave him in pole position for the victory and my teammate lagging behind. So you can see my teammates managed to get past LR Patrick, and the gap is at 2.6 seconds. So now it's really down to me to keep bread behind for as long as possible in order for my teammate to catch up that 2.5 second gap that you can see there in the top left corner. So here, riding on board with FRL bread.
Just remember, his tyres are 17 laps old. Someone's going ahead of him. He does have quite a bit of ERO, so he's on 72%. His teammate, on the other hand, behind you is on 30%, struggling to catch up again.
We're catching the car ahead,
I'm sure
but be
he'll try
aware
to do
that these
something.
tyres need to last till the end of the race.
You just gained 1.2 seconds in breath.
My tires are finished. Oh my days.
Okay, I'll keep
Understood, copy that.
pit this lap, pit.
You have to. Oh, fuck.
So as you can see now, after a great battle with the Red Bull driver, I've managed to maintain my position, and also in doing so, you can see the gap between my teammate and the man behind me is now down to, well, effectively nothing. He's regained all the time that he had lost after the collision they had. But still, my tyres, as you can see, just understeering wide onto the curb. My tyres are finished at this point. So I'm going to have to come into the pits, and effectively that will get rid of any chance I have at scoring major points in this race.
Max for seconds.
Ah!
So the gamble on strategy did not pay off, as I've had to come into the pits for new intermediate tyres here on lap 18. Really was a roll of the dice to try and compete for some big points in this race, as at the start, obviously, I got caught up behind a few cars. So it was really the best option to choose a different strategy. And although it didn't pay off for me at that time, it worked out for my teammate, as he managed to stay close to some of the cars that he was battling with. But also here, you can see now, lap 19, I'm down to P11, but all is not lost on scoring points in this race, as at this point, I'd be the fastest car on the track with the newest set of intermediate tyres. So now, moving on to lap 20, the gap to the Ferrari ahead when I came out of the pits was at 2.3 seconds. You can see it's down to 1.5. Going through turn 1, I get a little bit wide onto the Astro.
Catching the car ahead, but be
Okay,
aware
looking
that
nice.
these
We
tyres
are
need to
approaching
last
full
till the
funnel.
end of the race.
I just lost something on my wheel.
Oh,
And what can I say? It really is that easy to make a mistake in conditions like these. All the way up until lap 20, I managed to avoid any major errors. But there, coming through turn 1, the infamous turn 1, I lose a little bit of my end plate, which is more than enough really to absolutely destroy any chances I have at catching the cars ahead. So at this point, I'm just driving to survive, which is really annoying because obviously coming out on the new set of tyres, I would have been the quickest car on the track. I still would have been able to gain some positions and score some points for the team. At this point, just driving around waiting for the track to dry up. As you can see, getting warnings as some of my wing is gone. Ultimate understeer. Moving on now to the end of lap 22. You can see that it stopped raining. The track's still a little bit damp, but really I'm in a position where I can take a gamble. So I decided to come into the pits for a new set of soft tyres.
Somebody's crashed. Who's that in the house?
Lucas.
Lucas. Okay. And now, please, God, help us.
Bills, you don't forget to choose.
So exiting the pit lane now, really it would be the first few corners that would show whether or not the dry tyres are the right tyres to be on. And as you could see, really even going through turn 1 was a struggle. Coming up here now to turn 2.
I will wait what Brett does.
You probably don't want to pit. Mate, probably not. I think it's still inters.
So you heard it there, still intermediate tyres. And that means race over, as these tyres are not quicker than the intermediates at the moment. You can see I'm really struggling. I'm not going through the corners with any conviction, any speed whatsoever. The tyres just aren't gripping to the circuit. Although the track looks dry and it had stopped raining, it just wasn't dry enough yet for the dry tyres. So still struggling, understeering off the track. So really, with 7 laps to go, my race was well and truly over, unless there was some type of safety car or just late race carnage. There was really not much to play for at this point. But as you could hear there from my teammate, who is actually from Finland, I'm assuming if you're not Finnish, you wouldn't really know that. He's celebrating actually making a move for the lead at this point here on lap 23. I think they were actually on lap 24. Coming around into the final lap of the race.
Looks good.
This guy's about to win the fucking race.
This is happening.
Prime time! Yeah! Fastest lap!
Oh, the fastest lap.
Sinne meneville. Sinne meneville.
Come on! Don't bullshit with me, Brett! What's the minute now?
Oh my god, I'm gonna crash.
Low-key, ball.
What happens to Tobias?
Tobias is
Tobias.
P10 in front.
P10.
No, he's slowing down
3
though.
seconds in front of me.
So as you heard there, the wild celebrations from my teammate. Big congratulations to him on his first victory in ERO. It was well deserved. He had the pace all weekend and he executed the perfect race strategy. So well done to him. From my point of view, it was a terrible race. I'm just happy to really have Australia done now, because it's one of the tracks that I dislike more than others. Moving on now to Singapore, a track where I feel like I can be very competitive. Another difficult track, a street circuit where qualifying will be important, as well as race strategy. So really looking forward to there, hoping to score some more points for the team and for myself. As you can see, finishing P11 in Australia really was not ideal. Fortunately, still a long way to go in this championship. Still many points to be gained. If you'd like to keep up with my progress, hit the subscribe button. I'll be sure to be dropping a video every week or so. If you like the video, hit the like button, comment, tell me what your favorite part was. This time next week, I'll be sure to be back with another video detailing the events of the Singapore Grand Prix. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, peace.
Thank you.